And Julien, I pronounce your name Genestoux?
Genestoux, yes.
Okay, perfect. So first off, everyone, welcome to Masari's Crowdcast. Today is August 17th, and I have the pleasure with me of Julien Genestoux from Unlock Protocol. He is the CEO and founder. We are putting in a plug for the Masari mainnet, September 21st through 23rd. Tickets are still available. Julien will be a speaker at mainnet, so please make sure to grab your tickets if you'd like to see him in person and get to talk NFTs on Unlock Protocol. But without further ado, so Julien, at mainnet, who would your dream panel be to talk about this subject area?
About NFTs, that's a good question. I'd love to see people from other marketplaces. OpenSea, definitely people from there. I'm sure there's people coming. If we're going to talk about royalties, maybe some people about SudoSwap, because I think what they're doing there is kind of, I don't want to say innovative, but interesting in the space. Obviously, maybe some of the OGs, people from Foundation, from Zora, I think would be nice to have, obviously, as well.
Yeah, certainly. They're all developing really interesting marketplaces for the broader consumer to access this technology.
Absolutely.
Well, very cool. So can we dive into a little bit into Unlock, and can you give us a background on what Unlock is and the market that it's addressing?
Absolutely. So Unlock is a protocol for memberships. It's an easy way for creators, communities, brands, publishers to deploy a membership contract on-chain that was going to be their contract by setting up some terms and then sell membership cards in the form of NFTs. You might think it's pretty much like any other NFT, yes, but there's also more than just the normal NFT. So for example, we provide NFTs that have an expiration date, and that enables, for example, recurring revenues. As a publisher, as a creator, you might want to not just have one-offs, sell your collection and then hope for people to have a secondary market. You might want to have a system of recurring revenue in the form of subscriptions. That's something that Unlock does very well with NFTs that are time bound. We have a ton of other features. One of the cool stuff is we're deployed on 7 networks already: Ethereum mainnet, Gnosis chain, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, Avalanche, Celo, and more. So really, that's one of the cool, unique things about Unlock. And really, our membership contracts, and I say ours, but we just wrote the template. The one that you deploy is going to be yours, and I cannot touch it, and nobody can modify it. Has a ton of features that are dedicated to the idea of membership. So trials, cancellation term, transfer terms, etc., etc.
And for a lot of these companies who are looking to transition into Web3, are your subscription services both crypto and traditional payment native?
Yes and no. I mean, so yes, they are open for people that are non-crypto natives. But the really interesting part is even for non-crypto native users, there is a crypto transaction. So really, we think that blockchain and crypto are the core of the protocol, and then we built what we call a convenience layer on top of it, which enables people who have just a credit card and no crypto wallet to pay for these memberships and have them be automatically recurring. What's interesting about the core protocol here is we provide incentives for people to, for miners, should I say, not people, for third-party applications to renew these memberships and make sure that even if somebody who doesn't have a crypto wallet still has an up-to-date NFT attached to their identity that allows them to access the content on the website.
Nice. And how does Unlock work with companies that use it? How is Unlock governed? Because this is a mission of the Web3 space to decentralize. So is Unlock also one of these companies that has looked to decentralize its protocol?
Yes, and not just looked, we've actually done it, and we're already pretty far down that route. So Unlock is, as I said, a protocol. It doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to Unlock Inc. It is basically something that now belongs to a DAO, a set of people who have governance tokens, and I'll explain how these governance tokens work maybe a bit later, can now vote on upgrades, vote on endeavors that the protocol should support. from a software perspective. And so all of these upgrades now have to go through a vetting process by the community in order to become the new state of the protocol. And so we've decentralized already on that front. And the governance token, when we designed the core protocol, we thought that every single protocol is kind of a public good. It's something that is widely shared by all of its users, and so it shouldn't belong to anyone in particular. It should belong to the community. And so what thing that we've built from the get-go is what I call the loyalty program, but basically a governance token mechanism where on every single transaction, new governance token are being minted and distributed. I will not bore with the technical details of how that happens, but are distributed to the actual users of the protocol, so that if you become the biggest user of the protocol, you'll have the biggest stake in the protocol, and then you can actually vote on the DAO and have your ideas become the new standard in that way.
Like we were talking about, it's this constant product feedback from
Yes.
the customer, right? Where the customer has a stake in the product that they're using.
Exactly right. For me, one of the interesting things about Web3 is like it blurs the line between what would traditionally be investors and employees, but also users, into kind of a set of people that are both, that are investors, I guess, in some way through the governance tokens, employees because they can actually commit and work for the DAO in that scenario, as well as obviously users because they can use the protocol and earn more governance tokens. So really one of the core innovations of Web3 is it breaks the walls between all of these people and kind of aligns the interests of everyone toward building, again, a shared public good that actually benefits everybody.
I think this is Julien, I think this is a great transition into the power of NFTs, right? Because you just talked about the user roles within an organization and that sense of ownership that Web3 can enable, that traditional technology hasn't been able to enable, right? To pass that ownership to the individual. So I think NFTs is a good extension of like this digital key that we can bring with us across the internet from community to community. So do you want to talk a little bit about how Unlock uses NFTs and these digital keys now to access content, now that someone has this kind of idea of this repetition that an NFT can be a key throughout the internet?
Absolutely. And so the way to think of this is kind of start with the status quo, right? Like you think about some famous YouTuber, they have some fans, and these fans pay maybe on YouTube to see some of the videos or support via there's a way to support creators on YouTube. The challenge is like if this creator at some point decides to publish on Twitch or write stories on Medium, well, there's no way for their supporters to actually be treated as supporters on these other platforms, because the state of them being supporters or members is locked or stuck into the YouTube platform. If you move that information like X support Y away from the platform into the blockchain, and again, the NFT is a good way to represent that relationship into kind of a neutral environment, now you have a situation where the fact that someone supports a creator becomes, I don't say publicly known, but available for every single platform. And so now all of a sudden, if I move, or if the creator moves some of their content to Twitch, they can say, hey, Twitch, the people that have this specific NFT are my fans. They are people who actually pay for this. Please treat them as members of my ecosystem. And so now it becomes a world where the platforms are not creating lock-in anymore, but they're basically enabling creators and their fans, and without, again, locking in the creators and their fans, and kind of creating this arbitrary set of features that the creator can only offer to their fans, and outside of the platform, fans are not treated as fans anymore.
And I think one of the things that you had mentioned, Julien, which is really unique, is that there's this potential for third-party services to be promoters of the creator's content with a feature like an NFT, right? So your concept of platform fees, where the third-party site is then starting to share revenue. Do you want to dive into that kind of roadmap for Unlock and how to extend the creator's power and their use of NFTs?
Absolutely. And so it starts from a realization that I've had a little while ago, is like Web3 is not going to replace Web2. It's not about getting rid of YouTube or getting rid of Patreon or Facebook. It's about building a new layer on top of these, in the same way that the internet didn't get rid of the PC or didn't get rid of Microsoft Office. When the internet emerged, it became something that you access through your PC and kind of created another layer on top of the PC. And I think Web3 is going to be another layer on top of Web2 platforms more than anything. And so in order to be that new layer, it needs to provide economic incentives for these platforms to adopt it as well. And so one thing that we introduced in the protocol, and obviously that's something that's completely opt-in, is the ability for creators to reward platforms when they become referrers. It's kind of an affiliate program, and say, okay, cool. If you, YouTube, sell one of my NFTs to someone, you should be able to earn a little bit, a share of the revenue that I'm making through you guys. And so that's the kind of thing that we've introduced in the protocol in the latest version, released last month. It's called protocol fees, refer fees, should I say, or platform fees, and allows platforms to say, hey, okay, cool, we'll adopt the protocol, but only if you, specific creator, allow us to get a cut of the membership that you sell through us.
Okay. It feels that would be a huge unlock for customers, for unlock customers, because they'll naturally be able to integrate with the sites that they're already publishing content on.
Exactly right. It provides an incentive for the platforms to implement the protocol. It provides an incentives for the creators to actually use the platforms, because now they know that the platform is going to be rewarded. And again, aligns the interest between the platforms, the creators, the fans, so that everybody gets the best experience possible.
Awesome. So one of the hot topics in the NFT space at the moment is around royalties and the potential that royalties might forever be going away with regards to NFTs. Do you want to touch upon this and share some of your thoughts here, Julien?
Absolutely. So we should start. I should start by prefacing that royalties is a concept that would, in theory, allow creators to monetize so-called secondary markets. So let's say I'm an NFT creator. I create an NFT. I sell it to you, Ryan, and then Ryan, you decide at some point to sell it to Chris. In the normal world, when you sell to Chris, I, as the original creator, have no way to make money. There's been this, I don't say lie, but this myth that has been propagated in the crypto space that things are done in a way that would allow me to capture a little bit of the fees or a little bit of the revenue that you make when you sell your membership to the next, your NFT to the next person. In practice, there is nothing that actually enforces this on the smart contract themselves, and that's something that people should know. ERC 721 or ERC 1155 don't have anything that actually mentions royalties, and they even, from a technical perspective, don't have the mechanisms to provide these things, because they don't even know about price or transfer of money when there's a transfer of ownership of the token. So the way these royalties happen right now is through platforms. So when you put on an OpenSea, what happens if you put an NFT for sale on OpenSea is basically you tell OpenSea, hey, OpenSea, if you find somebody for that price, then sell it to them, and OpenSea can easily, and that's one of the benefits of the blockchain, identify the initial or the original creator, and in that scenario, pay them a fee. So that's how the royalties things happen. The challenge with that is that since it's actually not really enforceable in code, it really depends on whether the platforms are willing to implement it. And practically speaking, we're now seeing the emergence of platforms that are bypassing this completely. Say, hey, why would anyone pay 10%, 5%, whatever, to the original creator if they don't have to, or there's no proof or no requirement to do so? So that's something that already is a lot more people are discussing, something that we've been drumming about for now more than a year. And it's good to see that the people are catching up with this. I'd say there's an even bigger problem around royalty. I mean, obviously, from a technical perspective, it's not ideal. But the bigger problem is around the incentives. The idea that a creator will make money with a secondary market requires two things. First, it requires that there's a secondary market. And for it to be a secondary market, it means that people have to churn. It means that creators have to not be, so collectors have to sell often and again on the secondary market the NFTs that they bought before. So for me, this created kind of a problem, because as a creator, you actually don't want people to churn. You want people to stick around and kind of keep your NFT for as long as possible, because if they keep churning, that means they're actually not really interested in holding it, and creates kind of this race to get rid of the NFT as much as possible, as often as possible. The second problem is also the fact that it only makes sense in a scenario where the NFT price goes up. If I'm a collector and the price went down, well, I'm not going to sell it because I don't want necessarily to lose money. And especially if I were to sell it, I would actually pay a fee, would make it even less profitable for me. It means that when the prices go down, people are not likely to sell their NFTs, which means that there's no royalties for the initial creator. So as much as I think it's an inviable model, or on paper something that looks innovative, I actually don't think it works really well at scale and create bad incentives for creators and bad incentive for collectioners in that scenario.
So Julien, if royalties are tending or trending towards zero, it does sound like we're going back to a more traditional marketplace that these individuals who entered last year thinking that they were going to be able to make one piece of art and kick it on Easy Street, they're going back to a very similar traditional art and a space, even though this technology might have promised something originally.
Yeah, exactly. So to be clear, I don't want to, throw the NFT water or with the royalty bath, or NFT baby with the royalties bath. But indeed, I do think that we should expect creators to use more mechanisms to monetize. And the thing that has worked pretty well and has been publicized over and over the last 10, 15, 20 years is the idea of the 1,000 true fans all paying for a recurring subscription. It's the idea that if you really like a creator, you're going to sustain or help them sustain their lives by subscribe to their work. And maybe one of the benefits actually of being one of these subscribers is to get first access on their new mint. So when an artist mints a new collection every year or every 2 years, there is a way for their core supporters to be able to be the first ones to buy the mint rather than be coming later down the line. So indeed, I think the ecosystem is going to realize that even though blockchain brings a ton of really interesting things, and provenance is actually one of the ones that is really critical here, it also doesn't solve all of the problem, and there is nothing really magic about the royalty system.
It's interesting that you bring up how powerful it can be for future applications in rewards, and at least signaling that this individual has been a constant supporter. You can see where, like we were mentioning yesterday, Julien, where NFTs can be additive, where you can have collected NFTs over time. And when you have NFT X, Y, and Z, then a group or a collective can say this individual is a top tier true fan supporter. They have all 3 NFTs. We can now give them exclusive access to content in real life events, etc. You can start, like you had mentioned, you can start to, I don't want to say gamify, but you can start to really build that true 1,000 fan communities and start to differentiate who really is a true fan and who is someone who is just a speculator. Casual observer. Exactly.
Absolutely, 100%. And for me, that's actually really interesting because that's something that I don't think we've seen much emerge, even though we do start to see things. But the NFT being programmable is something that makes really sense here. Is the idea that my NFTs could look different or visually look different based on the fact that I own other NFTs. Maybe if I own a Punk and CryptoKitty, both of them have a little star or something that actually indicates that they're special because I own these 2 things. And so I could be treated on-chain, but also off-chain differently based on this. And to me, really, that's where the NFT model shines. It's really the provenance and the linkability of data that allows creators to provide benefits or provide unique experiences to who are their real true fans and not just random speculators that have just bought a token 5 minutes ago and are trying to leverage this in order to flip it in the next 20 minutes.
It does feel that some of these communities, they are just in the need of a good game designer.
Exactly right. And I think that and it's not just these communities, right? Like I think we're starting to realize as an ecosystem how powerful that is. Beyond this, because honestly, most businesses, one of the things that I tell all the time is like, and it's not true anymore, but it used to be true that Amazon's profits were basically Amazon Prime revenues. So the business of Amazon is basically selling Amazon Prime more than it is to actually ship goods to people. And we're seeing that more and more. If you look at the airline industry, obviously they're making a ton more money with their loyal frequent flyers than they are with the random Joe flying the airline. Rental companies are in the same situation. And so it's about creating that membership and being able to identify your true fans, which again for airlines and rental company might be a weird way to frame it, but allow you to identify them and treat them differently. Because these are eventually your, don't say necessarily cash cows, but your most faithful customers and the one that are actually making your business profitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting when you start looking at translating a community or Web3 into like a gamified experience. You do have different game player archetypes. You have your free players, you have your players who are willing to pay, and then you have your capital providers who are helping build the game or like providing the infrastructure. So you can see all three of these same archetypes are going to be throughout different applications of Web3 space, whether that is content creation and NFTs, whether that is truly just gaming, whether that's in the kind of dog coin, DeFi, gambling space, right? You're going to have these three player archetypes across all the sectors.
Yes, and you'll be able to identify them. It's not just like behaviors and see how long they've actually held your NFT. How many other NFTs they have, how faithful they were. It reminds me of last year we spoke with a music producer who was interested in doing music memberships for both the East Coast rappers and the West Coast rappers in the US. And they wanted to create an app where you could only listen to the music from the East Coast if you had the East Coast NFT, but also if you didn't have the West Coast NFT. So that could be interesting incentive for you to kind of get rid of one of your NFTs to be able to use an application, and so get rid of your memberships. Like, hey, imagine like Delta Airlines kicking you off if you have an American Airlines membership. Would actually be a pretty interesting kind of dynamic here as a business, where you say, hey, choose your side, comrade, in that scenario.
So I've come it's to build off of what you just shared. I've come across one NFT project that actually required that you burned another NFT project in order to mint their NFT project. So this very vampire attack type of trying to get members to your community. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of that yet.
It's it's kind of a cliche in that space, but it's early. Obviously, I do think that's the kind of thing that we'll see more and more. We do start to see a little bit of experimentation around nouns DAO, for example, and things like this that are interesting, and we're going to see a lot more of that in the next few months and years. I'm pretty convinced about this. And again, it's gonna go beyond the crypto degens into the normies crowd, because these memberships are going to be the thing that Amazon Prime is going to be an NFT membership at some point. Your airline membership is going to be a membership. Your sports gym membership is going to be one of these. Your media subscription is going to be one of these. I mean, your Messari membership is going to be one of these. Your tickets to actually Messari's conference mainnet is going to be an NFT membership. And so if you realize like all of these are going to be like, NFT, you open the door to a ton of really, really interesting things around gamification, around building better interfaces and more tailored experiences on the web for users that are willing to disclose their membership statuses.
I'm excited. Just with that, Julien, I'm really excited. Julien, to wrap up here, do you want to touch upon how Unlock was able to do the ticketing at ECC, just to bring in a real world application? And then we can touch upon any last topics and maybe do Q&A.
Absolutely. And so I basically just mentioned Messari's mainnet conference, but like a ticket to a conference or a ticket to any event is a membership to the event or to the conference. It's kind of a weird way to frame it, but that's kind of it. It's kind of token gated, physically token gated to people that have the NFT in their wallet. And so ECC, which is the Ethereum community conference, happened in Paris last month in July, and they used Unlock for all of the tickets. And so basically anyone who attended the conference had an NFT ticket in their wallet that allowed them to access the conference. And now what's really interesting is like it's still in people's wallets, so they can access some custom experiences online because they attended ECC. Other conferences, ETH Varsa, ETH Safari, DAppCon are also using Unlock for the ticket. At some point, I'm convinced that Messari's mainnet will use Unlock's NFT as well as tickets. And what's interesting about this again is the idea of combining the experiences. Is like, say I have the Messari ticket for the conference mainnet. Well, now I can access Messari Pro for a month. Maybe I can actually use this to when I use Coinbase and get the Coinbase One membership at a discount because I attended Messari and Coinbase is a sponsor of Messari's mainnet. All of that interconnectivity of membership, I think, is something that will be extremely, extremely interesting.
Yeah, and like you had mentioned, we are early, so I'm sure that as the word spreads, more and more conferences will look at extending their ticketing to the world of Web3 and NFT.
Absolutely, and not just conferences, like honestly, concerts, museums, and more.
Cool. Well, let's see if there's let me see if there's any questions, Julien, from the crowd. Any Q&A here? But yeah, this was a great discussion. I'm excited to see where this goes, specifically with connecting the digital and physical world. It does feel like NFTs is going to be more of that digital key aspect that kind of unlocks what we can do with the Web3 interactions.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to show more of what we're building to the crowd.
Cool. So we don't have any questions for the crowdcast this morning, Julien. So I'm just going to wrap up. So first off, everyone, thank you for tuning in this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you might be. The Messari mainnet is happening again on September 21st through 23rd. So please make sure to check in and grab your tickets if you are interested. There are tickets still available. Again, Julien, thank you so much for your time. Julien is the CEO and founder of Unlock Protocol, and he is looking to tie the bridge between Web3 and in real life events and other digital content. So please come to his panel cast during mainnet.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for coming in, and feel free to send questions on Twitter as well. I'm Julien51 or at unlockprotocol.com, at unlockprotocol or unlock-protocol.com on the website. Bye everyone.